Thank you, councillors. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, those on Facebook. Just Facebook, YouTube. That's it. And Facebook, probably. Could I just ask if councillors and members present, if you could turn your mobile phone to either off or silent, please. Item 1, recording and live streaming of council meetings. Mr. Bird.
All council meetings are filmed with both video and audio being recorded. Video is focused on a specific area, however audio from the entire room is captured. By speaking during question time or at any time during the meeting, you consent to your voice and any comments you make being recorded. In common with all narrative during council meetings, verbal responses to congratulations, obituaries and question time will not be recorded in the written minutes. The reasoning behind recording council meetings is of course to hold us more accountable and improve the transparency of council's decision making to our community. The full meeting is being recorded and a copy will be uploaded to council's YouTube channel, which is Alpine Shire Council, and will be available after this meeting.
Thank you. We'd all stand for the acknowledgement of traditional custodians.
The Alpine Shire Council acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we are now on. We also acknowledge those people who have contributed to the rich fabric of our community and strive to make wise decisions that will improve the quality of life for all.
Thank you. Item 3.1, ordinary council meeting, M5. Recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting M5 held on the 4th of June 2019 as circulated be confirmed. Mover and second. Councillor Pearce. Councillor Knapstein, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favour? Carried. And item 3.2, special meeting M6, the minute of the special council meeting held on the 18th of June as circulated be confirmed. Councillor Roper and Councillor Pearce, thank you. Discussion? No? All those in favour? Carried. Apologies, there are nil. We have a full complement of councillors tonight. Obituaries and congratulations from my left.
No.
Councillor Keeble.
Queen's birthday awards, and there's quite a smattering few people in there. Oh, you want nothing? You certainly do. Thank you. But I just want to make note. Mark Zagorski is a doctor over in the Kiva Valley. He was nominated, had an award on Queen's birthday weekend, and he's more than just a doctor in our community. He's been. I'm not going to promote that here, but they do an excellent job, and I just want to congratulate him on his award.
Thank you. Councillor Rope?
No.
Nothing.
No. Councillor? No? Okay. I just have one. I had the absolute enjoyment the other Saturday of attending the Mount Beauty District and Community Band, to which I was invited, and on fair dinkum we thoroughly enjoyed it, and I know one of the band members are present, or is present, and I think it's a real, as I said in my thanks to them, it is a community band for the community. And the participation there was just great to see, and they're holding a concert I think at the end of the year, so I'd encourage people to go and listen to some really fine musicians, so well done to them. Item 6, declarations by councillors of conflict of interest. None, thank you. Item 7, public questions on notice. We have one from the Upper Kiwa Valley Community Group, and I'll read it. The recent revamping of the transfer station and tip in Mount Beauty would appear to be operating very smoothly. Thank you for this. However, with this reworking, residents are now not able to seek out materials for recycling. This includes bricks, timber and other reusable materials. Is there any possibility that this opportunity could be reinstated? We are aware that there are many people in the area who would make use of the opportunity, and I think it was signed by Mary Pike. Ms Cook, you have a response to that?
I do. Thank you for the question, Mary. The local law, the previous local law to the one that was just been enacted from the 1st of July, did not allow it's termed under local law as scavenging at the tip, and it doesn't allow it now either. So it isn't a recent change. However, what maybe has happened is because of our new operations contract at the transfer stations, perhaps it's being a little bit more consistently enforced. So it's not actually a law change, but it probably has been more consistently enforced. And the main reason that we don't allow people to go through the stockpiles at the transfer station to recover stuff is a safety issue, and we have had some examples of some fairly unsafe behaviours where people are attempting to get stuff off the stockpiles, and so we don't allow it. I have mentioned this a few times in various community groups, and I haven't had anyone come forward at this point, but if there is a community group in particular who is interested in how they might run a reuse centre across our 3 transfer stations, we would be very interested in talking to that. It's something that we would find difficult to resource ourselves, but we would be interested in seeing if there was anyone who had some ideas and wanted to come forward and see how that might work.
Thank you. There are no other questions on notice. Are there any questions from the floor, please? Thank you, sir. Mr. Dyer.
My name is Ray Dyer and I reside at Ovens. And my question is to the CEO. Charlie, you put in a letter on the 4th of August 2017 to me, stating I was no longer welcome at the Shire office. And you put a list of 5, 6 or 7 items that I was not allowed to discuss. Now I want to meet with you. You put that in, you attacked my character and credibility by saying I misbehave at these council offices. I did not. And I wish to have an opportunity to talk to you about that. You sent a letter when I put one in October saying I want to talk to you about that. How dare you attack my character and credibility?
Thank you, Mr. Dyer.
Hang on, Mr. Mayor, I'm talking.
No, you're not. You are talking, but it's my meeting and here we go again, Mr. Dyer.
All right.
All right, I control the meeting and I continue to try the meeting.
Good on you.
Right.
What is
your question, sir?
My question is, I have another 6 items that I want to talk to you about, Charlie, besides those issues of you attacking my character and sending a letter into me saying straight out there's nothing to discuss.
Mr. Bird will make those
I would like to know when I'm going to meet with you, Charlie. I've been waiting for quite a few years, you know that.
Thank you, Mr. Bird will get back to you.
When will he get back to me? I waited a month last time.
When he considers it.
All right, I'll put it in the paper and have a good bit of a go that way.
No worries, sir. Thank you. Take a seat. Okay. Any further questions from the floor? Thank you. No, you haven't.
Trish Cross from the UKVCA in Mount Beauty.
It's on. It's on.
Mary, yeah. Another issue about waste. I'm watching the changes now with the e-waste collections that are happening, and I note that there's an e-waste facility over at Mount Beauty, which is fine. I then went down the list, and there's a cost for, apart from computers and TVs, which are free to dispose of, there is a cost for other electrical e-waste items. Now, my concern is that small items, you know, it's $2.50 and then it goes up to $4 or $7.50, whatever. My concern is that people are still going to literally dump those items at the op shops and they've got to get then rid of them because either they have to get electrical items tested if they're going to put them for resale, or, as I know, the two op shops, I'm got no connection with either of the op shops in Mount Beauty, but I know a lot of it has to go literally taken to the tip, which they have to pay for. Now, I'm a bit concerned about that because people aren't going to pay $7.50 to dump their washing machine. So it'll be dumped outside the op shop, and then the op shop has to pay that along with the other stuff they have to pay for. I'm just wondering if there's an option for op shops in particular to have that cost waived. I mean, we're trying to collect e-waste and get it recycled, but if it's going to cost people money, I can't see it working terribly well.
Unless there's an answer, I don't know if there's an immediate answer to that. Is there, Ms Cook?
So can I just check that you've looked at the 1920 budget fee schedule, not the 1819? Because we amended, the vast majority of e-waste were made free in this latest budget.
Right, well, I just went onto the website,
Yeah.
Natalie, and yeah.
So I could, when
e-waste.
was that? When was that?
Oh, today?
Today. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me have a look at it with you, because in the latest budget, the vast majority of the e-waste is now free to
Oh.
take to our transfer stations.
Well, that's
because
good.
we have realigned our fee structure to the stewardship programs being run through Victoria. So a lot of sellers, there's stewardship programs being run both state and nationally,
Yep.
and those programs allow for some recycling through the e-waste program.
Yeah.
And so we have realigned it. So I'll have another look at that with you if you like, and we can have a look at where the differences are.
And that'll apply to ratepay or anybody who takes stuff to
Absolutely.
the transfer station. Also the op shops.
Anybody who takes something to the transfer station has got the same fee schedule, so
Right.
that fee schedule
Okay.
applies to
Oh,
everybody.
well,
so I'm
that's
happy
good
to
to
take
hear.
that offline and have a look
Because
and
I don't
see.
think that's on the website now. I went down, e-waste and just a list.
Yeah, sometimes updating some of our website can be a little bit tricky, so
Right.
there's multiple
Okay.
links, and we might have missed a link as well. So
Okay.
but I'm happy to take that offline and have
All
a look
right.
at what's left on that fee schedule.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks, Natalie.
That's right.
Yeah. Sorry, Mr Bird's got...
Our website will be updated next month, so hopefully it'll be far more easier to navigate your way through and find information that you need.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms Cross. Item 8.1, contracts approved by the CEO.
It's recommended that the contracts be approved by the CEO. Be noted.
So moved.
Thank you. So, yeah, Councillor Keeble and Councillor Nicholas. Councillor Keeble?
The replacement of the lint filters, pumps, and filter and connecting piping. I'm assuming it's for a pool. Which pool is it for? Please.
Thank you, Councillor Keeble. This is Myrtleford Pool.
Myrtleford Pool. Then my question is, in regards to pools, the Mount Beauty pool, looking at being open on time this year.
It is, from a
a
capital
cheeky
works
question.
and maintenance point of view, we're well ahead of schedule to complete
Okay,
those works,
great.
yes.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Nicholas.
No, I had the same question. Which pool?
Okay, thank you. Any further comment?
Just a quick question.
Yep. Councillor Forsyth.
Yes, quick question to the CEO, or to the CEO. Myrtleford Pool, there's another $100,000 going into that. What is the extended life of this pool?
I'd have to take that one on notice, Councillor Forsyth.
Are you envisaging this pool will have to be replaced or moved or something within 5 years, or
I think beyond 5 years.
beyond 5 years?
But
Okay.
this piece of plant was in dire need of replacement, and having seen what it looked like once we moved it, it was very clear that it was needed.
Kitty.
All right.
Kitty.
Will it be flood-proof?
Kitty.
The filter itself.
I'm with Charlie.
Yeah, the things that we're putting in.
The equipment won't be, well, Mr. Jeremy, perhaps you could help answer that question.
Very sorry about that.
We're effectively replacing the system with a similar system that existed previously. I would
Above
have to
flood
check.
level?
I would have to check with you and come back to you as to whether all the items in there are above the flood level. But we're certainly aware of the flood risk in that location.
Good.
I suspect the pool itself, pool shell, is
It
below
does.
this piece of plant. So if that was to be inundated, then it's probably not that relevant.
Thank you.
Any further comment? All those in favour? Carried. Item 8.2.1, adoption of the council order dog control for Alpine Shire under section 26(2) of the Domestic Animals Act. Ms Cook.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to recommend that Council adopts the Council Order dog control to enable dog on lead areas in the Alpine Shire to be appropriately designated.
Councillor Keeble and Councillor Nicholas. Thank you. Councillor Keeble.
This was part of the discussion in regards to local laws, so governance, maintenance, administration.
Councillor Nicholas.
Nothing else to add.
Nothing. Any further comment? Take to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. 8.2.3, revocation of policies. Ms Cook again.
As part of the making of the Community Local Law 2019, a review of policies addressing community amenity and activities related to council assets has been undertaken. The Community Local Law 2019 addresses matters controlled by council policies being the scare gun policy and the signage policies that now need to be revoked so that the local law can operate.
Yep, Councillor Keeble and Councillor Nicholas. Councillor Keeble.
Similar to the dog one, again, just getting the administration in order in line with the current Community Local Law 2019.
Councillor Nicholas.
I think the only thing I'd add is that there's a lot of work behind all of this, as usual, as we align the governance of the organisation to modern best practice. And congratulations and thanks.
Just if I could just comment, the scare gun policy, although we're revoking this policy, we still have a policy under the Environment Protection Act. Is that
We
correct?
actually still have a policy. It's sitting under the local law. So through consultation previously, we amended the originally drafted local law that removed the scare gun policy completely, and we redrafted this policy, and it was adopted as part of the local law. In addition to our internal council policy on the scare gun policy, we do have other powers under the Environmental Protection Act as well, but we do still have a scare gun policy too.
Thank you.
It's
It's just been a topic of conversation. Just needed that clarified.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms Cook. Any further comment?
Oh yes, dry and boring evening, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Roper, for your comment. I was hoping that you might participate in the council to liven it up, as you do at times.
Well, reading what's been in front of us, Mr Mayor, there's no dramatic planning. The only thing interesting coming up's a topic in a minute, but the rest of it's just a bit of ho-hum business.
Well, that's after you've been on council for as long as you have, Councillor Roper, then some of these things do become day-to-day things. Any further comment? All those in favour? Carried. .2.3. 8.2.3, Councillor Roper. Yes, there we go. That's one right now, 8.2.4.
3, no, new policies, different
Oh,
ones.
new
Yeah,
policy.
different ones.
Yes. Yep, we're doing that. Ms Cook.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We are recommending the revocation of a number of policies. Council is in the process of undertaking a holistic review of its policies, and a review of the following policies has been completed, and it's recommended to revoke these policies. I'll go through the list in just a moment, but under the issues column of the report, that details specifically why that particular policy is recommended for a vote. In the vast majority of cases, the policies are simply out of date, and they're, as you can see if you look at the dates, they're quite aged. So the policies are the charity fundraising in the Alpine Shire policy, the walking tracks on Crown land policy, the funding request to Alpine Youth Council policy, the funding leisure facilities, services and programs policy, the funding arts and culture policy, the disability access and inclusion policy, and the food sampling non-compliance policy.
Second.
Oh, I didn't have to put that in again. Councillor Keeble and Nicholas, thank you. Discussion?
People will look at these seven particular policies and look at number 6 and saying, well, we're not really revoking the disability access and inclusion policy because we already have the Act of 2006. So that particular policy does not relate to the Disability Act of 2006. And if you go back in time, a lot of these policies were put in place before there was actually amendments to the Acts and further Acts. So they're not required. It doesn't mean we don't follow the Disability Inclusion Act. Just want to make that clear. Food sampling. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nicholas.
I wanted to pick up that same point, the disability access and inclusion matter, because it says, but just to highlight that we have a disability action plan that we're required to have under the Act, and that is to be updated in the next financial year, or current financial year.
Good. Any further? Councillor Pearce.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm just looking at number 2, walking tracks on Crown land, and number 4, arts and culture policy. What is at the end of us managing walking tracks on Crown land, and is at the end of funding for arts and culture, just for the general person?
Mr. Jeremy, yes.
Thank you, Darryl. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The walking tracks on Crown land policy is a very old policy, and it's essentially been superseded by the technology that we have. So our GIS database and the mapping system we have reflects the agreements that we have in place and the arrangements they have for the bits of land that we're responsible for maintaining. So essentially that policy is no longer required because we've got technology which replaces it. The funding arts and culture policy, when you read the detail of the policy, essentially the community grant programme that we have in place at the moment, it covers everything that's in that funding arts and culture policy. So it's about very small amounts of money going to community organisations for the purpose of being used for funding art and culture, so small events and maybe funds that they can't access through other means. So it's essentially a redundant policy because it's covered by a process that we already have in place in council.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. Councillor Keeble.
And that's a good point. I will add, when I was looking at these, a lot of them are dated when the Canuck government were in and the amalgamations were happening within our shires. So a lot of these policies, I think, came when the shires came together and they just wanted to make sure they captured stuff. And now we have other processes in place, and because of the teams that are going through the policies, they're going, oh, actually, we already have this already in another section of the council business and we don't really need it. So that's where that's at.
Good, thank you. Being no further discussion, take it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Item 8.2.4, instruments of appointment and authorisation. Ms Cook again.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Instruments of appointment and authorisation are an important means of council ensuring that its officers are appropriately authorised under the relevant acts that council administers. This report provides for a change in staffing for those staff with planning responsibilities, and that's specifically the planning officer, because we have a new planning officer, and the planning coordinator, because we have a new appointment to the planning coordinator role.
So moved.
Councillor Keeble. Sorry. Councillor Nicholas, thank you. Councillor Keeble.
No, administrative. It's great to see that we have a new planning officer and planning coordinator.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. No further comment? All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 8.2.5, appointment of independent audit committee members. Who's that one?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Alpine Shire Council Audit Committee comprises of councillor and independent members, and on the 30th of April 2019 saw the expiry of one independent member's 3-year term. Council has sought expressions of interest for membership to the committee, and this process is now complete. This report recommends the appointment of 2 independent members to Council's Audit Committee for a 3-year term. The recommendation is that Council appoint Sinead Ryan and Craig Kovich to the Audit Committee for a term of 3 years, commencing from the 2nd of July 2019, pending satisfactory completion of their pre-employment paperwork.
So moved.
Councillor Roper and Councillor Pearce. Just for something different.
I said it too.
Councillor Roper.
I'd like to congratulate Sinead again for previously shown herself to be a very good resource on the Audit Committee, and Craig, who I'm looking forward to meeting, and looking forward to them starting and continuing the good work of the Audit Committee, which has been set up, I think, has been standing in quite good stead with the input of most of the members of this bench.
Indeed. Thank you. Councillor Pearce. Thank you. Any further comment? Councillor Nicholas.
It's a question really for the gallery and listeners, watchers. What is the budget effect of having an extra Audit Committee member?
Audit Committee members receive an allowance of $200 per meeting should they attend or attend remotely. There are no expenses paid. There are generally 4 meetings a year. On occasion there are 5 if there is a special meeting called to deal with any particular issues. So therefore the budget implications of having one more an additional Audit Committee member is in the vicinity of $800 per annum.
Thank you, Ms Cook. My other comment is that the Audit Committee, with the independent members that we have, is a very strong committee, and Peter alluded to it, but it's a fabulous committee, and I think having another really strong member will be only add to it.
Thank you. Councillor Forsyth.
Just a question, because I've been away. Craig, who's coming on, currently director in Mossman, is it envisaged that he would attend the Audit Committee meetings remotely?
No, he has undertaken to attend in person.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep. Any further? Councillor Roper.
Well, if he's a skier, he might be looking forward for a...
That's part of the year.
Yeah, does he cycle?
Yes, he does.
for some sort of weather event that may help with precipitation in the Alps.
Yeah, any further comment? No. Thank you. All those in favour? Carried. Okay. And having sat on the selection panel, I can say that the nominees for that position were of extremely high quality, all of them. And it's great that that they would want to come and look after the Alpine Shire. 8.2.6, the Omnibus Planning Scheme Amendment, C60.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It has come to the attention of council officers that there are a number of errors in the planning scheme that warrant correction because of a negative impact they are having or could have on development of land. There are 3 particular areas impacted by this proposal, being an instance of freehold land being included in public land zone, an instance of a National Trust listed tree unintentionally admitted from protection under a heritage overlay, and errors in the ordinance provisions of the Mount Beauty Aerodrome Special Use Zone. it is recommended that Council prepare an amendment to the Alpine Planning Scheme to correct these errors and omissions or anomalies, and that we seek formal authorisation from the Minister of Planning to prepare an amendment, being the C60 amendment, and when authorised, exhibit that amendment.
So moved.
Councillor Roper and Councillor Nicholas. Councillor Roper?
Mr Mayor, I really had to vote for this one. This one because it's about the Omnibus Planning Scheme Amendment C60, and the word omnibus is a ripper.
And I know it is dear to your heart.
Well, it is, but it's not. It's about fixing up all the problems we've got in the planning scheme, and there's a bag of them out the back there, and they keep on turning up. And yes, let's get on with doing something about them.
Okay, Councillor Nicholas?
I understand that there's still work going ahead to find further errors in the planning scheme, so we may have something a bit similar. So,
Yeah.
So as we identify errors, we are putting them into a work plan and prioritising those through a planning scheme amendment. Absolutely.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor...
In the
Yep.
Mount Beauty one for the aerodrome, the special use, it's got dot point 2, which is imposed requirements that are necessary on applicants. Anything in particular what that was? Obviously that's going to be changed, but what was, do you know what that may have been?
I would have to take that on notice.
Okay, no worries. Because I said it's a 6 metre height on buildings. I just wonder what the other impositions were. Okay.
Thank you. Anything further? Councillor Knapstein?
I'm just glad they picked up the my favourite tree, the Himalayan oak in the Bright Cemetery, because I thought that was on the register and apparently it wasn't, but now it is. Thank you.
Anything further? None? Take the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Item 9, Assembly of Councillors. Councillor Pearce and Nicholas. Any discussion on that?
nope,
No, good.
not from me.
All right, councillors, thank you. All those in favour? Carried. General business from my right, Councillor Pearce. Councillor Forsyth. Councillor Nicholas.
Yep.
Yep.
I would actually like to raise what I think are really lovely new signs in the Alpine Shire, because I drive around a fair bit and I think they look absolutely fantastic, and I'm disappointed to see a photograph of some vandalised one, but anyway. Yeah, exactly.
Councillor Roper.
On the subject of signs, it's the second lot we've had since I've been on council. But in saying that, I will also congratulate Shire staff after notifying council that there was an issue with one of Mount Beauty. It was very speedily cleaned, and I think having the common sense to have a sign that's hard to deface with paint is a wonderful step forward. And I was surprised at how quickly the sign was reinstated to its original condition, realistically.
Yeah, I'll get back to you. Yeah, go on.
I'll get the opportunity. Okay, I was heading down the Wandy Strait on my way home yesterday, and there was two of our outdoor staff with sponge and buckets cleaning the 80k signs on the Wandy Strait. First time I've ever seen anyone cleaning speeding signs. There you go. Thank you.
I think CEO will take that on board and pass that on to the staff.
May I be indulged to have a second question in general business, Mr Mayor?
Yeah, indeed.
Thank you. I'm just wondering how much damage occurred across the Shire in the weather event we had last week with the rather unusual amount of rain. It fell quite heavily and quite fast, which denuded the Alps of most of its snow. And yeah, so was there any obvious damage to any of our infrastructure and assets?
Thank you, Councillor Roper. There was relatively little damage, so we had a couple of trees down, but there were no significant flooding problems that were reported to us over the weekend.
So we could call it a minor weather event.
I think Shepparton was the closest to their tsunami.
Councillor Keeble, nothing. Councillor Knapstein?
I'd just like to thank the outdoor staff and Will Jeremy for organising the relocation of the Stone Spirit sculpture, which had been holidaying for a little while at the depot after the Mafeking Square and upgrade in Bright, and now it's suitably placed in front of the Bright Art Gallery, which also incidentally is having its winter exhibition. So run along and have a look at that. Beautiful paintings for sale. That's a promo. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure that my wife doesn't attend.
Well, not with the credit card.
No further general business? Good, thank you. Item 11, motions for which notice... Oh, did you have something? No. Motions for which notice have previously been given, there are nil. Item 12, reception and reading of petitions, there are nil. Item 13, documents for sealing. Move in a second, please, for all those documents. Someone with a sharp biro.
Right.
Councillor Nicholas, thank you.
Thank you.
And Councillor Knapstein, lovely.
Yeah, we're good, aren't we?
All those in favour of that occurring?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Carried. Being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 7:36 p.m. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending. Safe journey home. And I hope you enjoyed your tour of the facility tonight. Thank you. Thank you, councillors.